I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto at the beginning of March. I'm joined by Tim McCutcheon of Ashanti Gold. Ashanti is a company that's an exploration company focused in West Africa, and that focus came from a very strategic, for a very strategic reason.
That's
so why
right.
don't you just lay that groundwork,
Sure.
your background and why you were so drawn to West Africa?
Sure. So basically, one of the things I think I bring to the table is I have been on every side of the table in the sort of banking, mining world.
Right.
So I used to be an equities analyst looking at mining companies, then I was a portfolio manager managing exposure to mining companies, then I ran mining companies, did investment banking deals. So I've been on all sides of the table. And then what I saw, if you remember, 2012 was sort of the peak and then a long slide for all mining equities. We all know
Yes.
that. And there was a moment that I was sort of sitting down just saying, I had an idea. And I went and I did a whole bunch of database research, and I came up with this statistic. If you take all of the junior miners in AIM, ASX, TSX, TSXV from 2011, so the last year of the bull sort of market, and then you map them out to about today, 80% of the ones involved in exploration development in West Africa died.
Oh,
About
okay.
10% were bought out, and 10% were left. So I was like, okay, so this is a space that's really been weeded out.
Absolutely.
And then I said, well, wait a minute, because I kept on reading about different things going on in West Africa, so then I did that statistic analysis, and what you come up with is that all the majors in West Africa are actually increasing the amount of money they put into that part of the world
Right.
because there's a lot of gold there, and they like working there.
Yes.
So you had this real mismatch between
Yeah.
more money going in with less and less things for that money to do. And that was sort of the opportunity to really lever in and create Ashanti Gold.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about those majors and what they're doing and
Right.
why they're doing it. So there's some shear zones
That's right.
that are highly prospective, where
That's
the
right.
discoveries and new mines have outshone everything else that's going on in the rest of the world for gold.
The story of West Africa is really the story of greenstone belts and shear zones. So greenstone belts are the oldest rock on the planet, where they essentially rub up or shear against younger rock.
Yes.
That action creates the opportunity for gold-bearing material to come to surface.
Yes.
So that's West Africa in a nutshell. Okay, so one of the biggest shear zones is in Ghana. It's called the Ashanti Belt. And one of the largest mines in the world, Abuasi, is the largest deposit in the world, is on the Ashanti Belt. And then
Right.
Newmont has a project called Achim. Now, to make a long story short, the people who had the entire land package of Achim started farming out part of it before they actually knew what they had. And we were fortunate enough to know what was on there, and we got our hands on it.
Right.
It's a long story short, but that's essentially the gist of it. That mine, Achim, now is one of the largest in Africa, but it's at the end of its mine life. And in discussions with Newmont, the mine operator, it's very clear that they very much want to extend the mine life as long as possible, because the last thing a major wants to do is close down a mine, just because it costs a lot of money.
Yes, exactly.
So we're working on that project right now with them, and we've actually optioned the project from Kinross, and the idea is to work with Newmont, and then we just step aside and sort of collect a toll fee, if you
Right.
will, for putting the deal together.
and that's Casanto East.
That's the
Sorry,
Ashanti
that's
Belt project.
yes.
Right. Okay. So that's
Sorry.
that. Sorry. And then the other project, the real sort of meaty project, the crown jewel, is Casanto East in Mali.
Yes.
And if we're talking about majors and everything else, what makes Casanto East is that it is smack dab in the middle of sort of major mining area.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the one shear zone called the Kaniba Inlier Shear Zone runs right through our property, and that is home to over 40 million ounces of production in the past 20 years.
Right.
So there's nothing else like it on the planet.
Amazing.
And all of the big guys are there. So Rand Gold, Angle Gold, IM Gold, B2 Gold,
Yeah.
Endeavor,
Endeavor,
they're all there
yeah.
because it's a great place to be. And then what's emerging now in the past, I would say 7 to 10 years, is the main transcurrent shear zone, which runs from
Right.
Senegal
Yeah.
right up into Mali, and they intersect
Yeah.
where our property is.
Right.
And to make it even further, is that this is sort of very top down. When you get specifically to where our license is, our immediate neighbor to our west is Randgold, and our immediate neighbor to our right is Acacia, our African Barrick. So these are multi-billion-dollar companies doing greenfield exploration next to us. And
Right.
multi-billion companies don't usually do that unless they're very excited.
Yes.
And so, by extension, we're very excited because what we have is over 2.3 kilometers of strike so far, 75 meters wide, at least 150 meters deep. And what we just need is one last sort of drilling campaign to really connect the dots in there. I don't want to call it infill drilling, it's basically just making the database more robust.
Sure.
And then that will allow us to come out with a made in 42311 report, by basically the end of the summer.
Right.
So that's what makes Ashanti different from most other companies at this point is we actually have a very tangible, real catalyst event that materially changes what the company is.
Right. And what's been really interesting, I think, is that it takes a while for a concept like you had, a big picture concept, to come together. You have to do all the deals, you got to raise the money, you got to advance the asset, you got to do the drilling. The market's not a super patient place.
That's right.
They want that resource estimate. They wanted it the day after you listed.
That's right.
But guess what? Now it's coming.
That's right.
And I think the value opportunity that it could create, given the interest in the area, is pretty significant.
Yeah. I mean, all I suggest is take a look at the presentation. There's a slide in there about comps between other companies in our area of the world that have a resource that we think we're going to, be close to, and then you'll see the big disparity between what we're trading at and what they're trading at.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck, and
Thank you.
I look forward to the numbers.
Yep. Me too. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching.